What do you think the UFO phenomenon is?
I think, first of all, that there are a lot of different varieties of it. But when we look at Francis of Assisi and the kind of historical things and the abductions, I think that it's been around for a long time. These are things that are in communication with us. What I do in my book, I talk to people who I think represent thousands of people. So each person in the book represents thousands, if not more, who have had experiences and the ways in which they interpret them. All of the people seem to have had experiences where now what they want to do is they actually want to work for justice in different ways. Each person, is somehow doing what I'm suggesting that I think is an out, this kind of structural injustice that we see. Jose, the veteran in my book, he's working with young people, helping them deal with being addicted to social media and things like that, and helping them get through life, which is really hard right now. So I think that this is a transformational thing without the drugs, like some kind of massive experience that people are having. People are being able to talk to each other through Reddit communities, and now it's getting out. Religions, when they become viral at one point. We've never seen it in an age where we have digital technology. But this is what we're seeing now.
What do you think the physical objects are?
I believe that there are, I would call them, and this is just my own non-scientific term, interdimensional objects. They're objects that have characteristics of our dimension and some other dimension.
Some other dimension or something from some other dimension has the capability of transporting a physical object into our realm.
Or even imprinting onto a physical object.
How so? What does that mean, imprinting onto
So
a
with the
physical
Shroud
object?
of Turin,
Okay.
we see the imprint of, the image.
If it's real.
Yeah, if it's real. But it's an anomalous object. So we do have, from Gary Nolan, engineered objects that we don't know how they're engineered, but they definitely look like I would call the kinds of things that we see in the historical record interdimensional types of things. Now how? I don't know, Joe. But I do think that scientists in the government know that these things exist, and they would like to figure it out. Part of disclosure, the disclosure movement, is outsourcing this and trying to get as many people as possible to help in figuring it out.
What do you think when they use the term donations? I'm sure you're aware of cargo cults. So with cargo cults, for people that don't know, there's been some islands during World War I and World War II where planes landed there and they left, and these people created statues of these planes and they worshiped them.
And they wanted them to come back. They got food and all kinds of wonderful things from the planes.
Right.
They thought of them as deities.
Right. The same way we would think of something from
like
somewhere
this.
else.
Yeah, that in my field has been called the cargo cult, the UFO cargo cult, right? Tyler and James view these parts as they call it the donation site.
Is that just one theory?
Yeah, that's just one theory.
Are there other theories that there's a biological organism that encounters a lightning storm and it actually crashes?
There is that, yeah.
What's your take on that? That's one of the things that Grush talked about. There are biological things that have been recovered.
What impressed me about what he said was that he used the term biologics. And I actually know that term because that's the same term that Tyler was talking about when he was creating materials in anti-gravity spaces on space shuttles and such. David Grush does get his information from people allegedly in the programs. I mean, I've not seen any bodies, nor have I seen intact craft, but now remember, I don't have a clearance like he has, so I can actually talk about what people have told me. I have had people tell me that, yes, Diana, there are intact craft. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, Joe.
Have you studied Bob Lazar?
Yes, I am always asked about Bob Lazar. I can tell you that people that I've met who are associated with the programs tell me that he's right. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but I can also say that a lot of times people with very disturbing backgrounds who could be easily discredited are given information.
Well, I would think that that's a little escape clause.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is.
The guy's obviously a genius and was obviously a propulsion expert. He can put a fucking jet engine on a Honda. You know, he claims that there's some element that exists in other places in the universe. So here's the question. Are some of these things from other planets? Is that also in the equation? I mean,
I'm not discounting ET.
so that could be there too.
I think so, especially because of the ways in which the materials are being manufactured off planet. In formation, when I met Tyler 2014, and now it's a full-on thing that's happening. It's a supercharged program of creating things that will help us off planet. But I don't know.
So it might be a bunch of different things happening all at the same time. Interdimensionally, something from a distant galaxy that's figured out some new method of propulsion that's beyond our imagination.
Yes, and most likely, if there's crash retrievals here on Earth, perhaps there are in space as well.
When they talk about inventions that emerge post-Roswell, points of speculation is that we have back-engineered something and that this led to the creation of a lot of other technologies that seem to emerge after that time.
So this question was prominent in my mind in 2012 when I met Jacques Vallée. Even as a person who hadn't studied UFOs or even believed in them, Jacques Vallée is just one of these people, right, that you come across his work and he's fascinating. I thought it was strange that not only was he a person who was pre-engineered ARPANET, right? He was on ARPANET, which is pre-internet. He was creating that at the same time as being obsessed with UFOs, being a ufologist. These things seemed that they had to be together. There was something that, what's going on here? And I'm in touch with him often. And he says a lot of things that are rather cryptic, but sometimes I ask him specifically, was what you were doing on ARPANET related to back-engineered UFO parts? And then he'd say something like, there are many secrets in Silicon Valley. I guess there are lots of secrets in Silicon Valley.
Of course.